Mike Rosehart here for another installment on my YouTube about a topic that I think is going to be very, very important and one that I get asked a lot, and I've not actually fully documented this. I've had conversations with people about my approach to this, and the topic for today is real estate investing, the Rosehart Snowball. A lot of people ask me, how is it possible you're able to acquire 10 properties in 10 months? And that was at my peak. I did 10 acquisitions of properties, duplexes, triplexes that needed major renovation. How did I do that? 10 deals in 10 months, right? And I'm talking no private mortgages, all A-lender financing, a couple of joint ventures, but the lion's share of those deals I did by myself with no joint venture partners. And I'm gonna explain to you now quickly, it might not be that quickly, but I'll try to do it as succinctly and quickly as I can. And if you guys have more questions, I want to hear about it in the comments. If you enjoyed and got value from this video, please share it on social media, subscribe to the channel, and give me a thumbs up, give me a like. I'm going to walk you through the Rosehart Snowball, and I don't know if it probably has a better name. It's stealing a little bit of the some of the BRRRR strategy, right? The buy, renovate, rent out, refinance, and then repeat. That's a big portion of the Rosehart Snowball. But another big portion that a lot of people don't consider is frugality. You need to have a few competitive advantages. So for this strategy to work, and basically the premise of this argument is that any person, I don't care who you are, anyone in Canada who has a full-time job, making an average salary, and a down payment for one property can take this strategy and go from 0 properties to minimum 10 properties in basically 3 years. It can be done in 2 years, but in 3 years. Anyone can do this. And once the snowball starts, once you get that Rosehart Snowball falling down the hill, it's quite easy to do 15, 20, 25 deals if you so desire. I didn't want to go that big. For me, I had more than enough when I made $1 million in 2 years. But you can do it too if you want to. If you want to grow and have a big company and have all that stress associated with all of those tenants, Bob's your uncle. So I'm going to walk you through a few fundamentals. A few requirements required for the strategy to work. One, you have to have a job making around $50,000 a year, $55,000 a year. Two, you have to have saved up a down payment for one property in the amount of $40,000, and you need another additional $15,000 of renovation capital to get started. Now, if you're super, super frugal, you can buy just with the down payment and then use your day job income every paycheck to pay for the renovation over the 4-month period. And so you can finance that $15,000 renovation portion while working if you want to. But essentially, if you haven't reached enough for a down payment yet, for the strategy to work, you need to be frugal. And I'm arguing for like a 70% savings rate. That might sound crazy, but hey, about a year and a half at an average job making 50 grand a year, you can save up a $40,000 down payment. It is doable. And if you can't do that, check out my articles on 25 and Free about rent hacking. Here's how you live for free when you're a renter. And then you eventually upgrade to house hacking, which is when you buy a property, you live in it, rent out rooms, if it's a duplex, whatever scenario, and you live there for, well, you get paid to live there, actually. I get paid to live in my own property right now. I live here and I get paid to live here. My wife, my daughter, we live in the upper unit. It's a 3-bedroom bungalow. It's awesome. Huge proponent of house hacking and rent hacking. Housing costs are like 35 to 40% of your entire budget. So if you can cut that right out of your budget, that creates a whole lot of cash flow to begin the snowball growth, right? So the Rosehart strategy, Rosehart Snowball strategy, I'm calling it because I don't have a better name for it. Like I say, you're gonna need a job. You're gonna need a down payment for one property. You're gonna need decent credit. If you don't have a good credit score, I'm gonna create a video soon about how you go about improving your credit score. I, at my peak, dropped to 602 credit score, and I'm back up to 852 in about 8 months. So it is totally possible to gamify your credit score. There is an equation you can use, and I'm gonna talk about that in another video. I don't wanna muck up this video talking about credit score. And the last thing is, you need to have a few skills, there's a few requirements, let's call them, and we'll call it a real estate strategy you have to follow. And I'm gonna talk about that. Actually, you know what? Let's talk about that now. I did have a little piece of paper. I'm working on getting a whiteboard, but you can kind of see it. I'll walk you through it just in case you can't. Once I have the whiteboard, it's gonna be a lot easier to do videos, and I'm probably gonna shoot it in my tiny house. But for now, I'm shooting in the living room. So what does the property profile look like, and what are some things you need to have? So first, there's 3 things you really need to have, right? 1, you have to know how to deal hunt. You have to learn your market. For me, that's in London, Ontario. I go out and see 50 properties before I buy a property. Go find an agent you really like, someone who knows investment properties, and tell them about your strategy, your plan to buy properties. You're gonna buy a property with them, you're serious, but you need to understand the market. You need to see some properties before you go ahead and pull the trigger. So go ahead and find the areas you like. There's a whole I'm gonna write a whole bunch of videos on how you go ahead and a whole bunch of articles I plan to write too for my blog on how you deal hunt effectively. But you make most of your money in real estate on the buy side. So you have to do a good job of buying properties. The second is you have to be able to rehab or renovate the property cheaply, because part of the model relies on us buying a property that needs renovation. And I'm gonna throw out a term later on called ARV, which is after renovated value. You have to learn how a property can be transformed into its best use to increase the value of that property. Deals like this happen all the time. You see them everywhere, and I can show you how it's totally doable in almost every market, excluding Vancouver, Toronto, major metropolitans. This model doesn't work. So why are you living in those cities? Sorry, no, I won't do that because I have a lot of friends who live in Toronto, Vancouver, New York, LA. These models don't work as well in the center cores, but in pretty much every other area, every other city that's not in the mega millions of people populace, this will work. In a lot of areas in the United States, most cities in like from Windsor to London to pick a place, and it'll usually work. The third thing is, like I say, you need to have a job to be able to refi. So there's some skills that are going to go along with how do you rehabilitate a property cheaply. And I'm going to share some tips where I learned how to hack frugally renovation materials. I learned how to negotiate with sub-trades. If you just go ahead and hire a contractor and pay them full value and you don't manage the project yourself, this Rosehart Snowball won't work as well. So it requires a bit of hard work, a bit of determination as well to get it done. But if you're hungry and you want to hustle for 3 years, I can make you $1 million, or you can make yourself $1 million by following this strategy. You can go from 0 to 15 properties in like 4-5 years safely, like easily. And then you can quit the day job and you're retired if you want to be. You're financially independent if you want to be. Okay, so let's walk through what property I'm going to use for the example, right? To walk you through how we go about doing this. Property price, $200,000 in my local market. That'll get you a pretty average property in a not so great area, but not necessarily a bad area. You can buy near the university. You can buy a 4 or 5 bedroom house in the Western University area, near the colleges, near Fanshawe College. You can buy some properties still in that area, in that range. And then a lot of South London, East London, it's possible to find properties like this. You can find a townhouse that this could work. It basically needs to be a property that's a little bit beat up, right? So you're not going for, in London, I think the average house price is $322,000. So slightly below average, but you're looking for a number of things, right? You're looking for it to be potentially vacant, potentially under rented, potentially in need, or definitely in need of renovation and remodel. And there's oftentimes it's, a 3-bedroom house with a basement that's, nasty and unfinished, but has so much potential to be converted into another dwelling unit or additional bedrooms and bathrooms to increase that rent, right? So you can get the rent up, you get the cap rate up, you get that appraisal you're looking for. And I know I'm throwing out a lot of words and terms. I'll explain some of those in future videos about cap rates, and that's basically the way you value a property using an income approach. There are different cap rates in every city. Anyway, so you've got this property. I'm gonna walk you through how you do your first deal. So it's year 1. You're 22 years old. Let's say I graduated university at 21 after 4 years. Went to school at 17, graduated at 21, and I was debt free and I had some savings. I actually had my first house, but I was house hacking. But let's just say you didn't do that and you've been sort of renting, and now you're your first job, you're making $55,000 a year. You've got some tuition carry forward credits. You can contribute to your RRSP and you can use that later for the down payment if you want to, using some really cool first time home buyer plans and things like that. Here in Canada, you've got your the first year, maybe it takes an extra year. Maybe you're 23 when you start this strategy because it took you a little bit more time to save up that extra $50 or so thousand, right? And in Canada, you can pretty much avoid paying tax using a lot of things like RSP contributions and tuition carry forward credits. I didn't pay tax in my first 2 years of working. I brought over 6 figures of income, and I had enough things like tuition tax credits, and I contribute to my RSP and things like that to get my tax rate down very, very low. So it's very possible to bring in almost all of your income tax-free. So that 50 grand, let's call it, you know, let's say you're bringing 55. In my example, I use my own personal example. I made $55,000. I made $50,000 and $55,000 and then $60,000 as a manager in IT consulting. I was underpaid, but that's okay. You don't need a great job to do this strategy. It'll work with or without a good job. You don't need to be a programmer making $90,000, $100,000 a year. That's going to help. That's going to make this way easier if you have a good job making, you know, 6 figures. And the banks love great people with great jobs, so that's good. You just need to have a full-time job to do this strategy. So you're able to get a mortgage, buy this property at $200,000. It needs a $15,000 reno if you do some of the work yourself and you manage the sub trades yourself, and you negotiate on the price of materials as well. So setting up contractor accounts and things like that are essential to the success of this strategy. So $200,000 purchase price, let's call it a 3-bedroom student property as an example. I'm going to use an example that's real for me. That was one of my first deals I didn't live in. And $15,000 reno, very true to what I actually spent on that reno. And ARV, the after renovated value, when you're done that renovation, you've converted it from a 3-bed, 1-bath to a 5-bed, 2-bath because you finished the basement apartment. And you put a little nanny suite down there, put a couple bedrooms. Okay, let's say you didn't put a kitchen, just put a couple bedrooms down there. Now you get a 5-bedroom house you can rent out to a group of students. Before the vision of it was a 3-bedroom, 1-bath, so the rents were maybe you could get $1,500, $1,600 a month. Now with a 5-bedroom, 2-bath, you've created a bit of arbitrage opportunity wherein now rents are $2,500, $2,600 a month. So you increase the value of the property substantially by putting $15,000 into it. Now it's worth $290,000. Very, very common. In fact, like I bought properties at $200 that I've turned into $325, $350. So I'm being conservative when I say $290. Totally possible all the time. These are like MLS listings you can do this with. It's better to do it with private deals, but we'll get into that later. As you build your network, you'll learn to pick up deals through Craigslist, Kijiji, places like that where you can get those private deals, knock on doors, talk to people in your network. Your contractor might know someone. You talk to a property manager, they might know someone who's looking to sell. That sort of thing. You can buy even better deals than you can get on the open market because it's all about misinformation and taking advantage of that arbitrage in the deal hunting process. So back to the deal, right? We've got $200,000 purchase price, $15,000 renovation, $290,000 ARV. You buy it $200,000. You avoid CMHC insurance fees. You don't want to go that route. So you 20% down because you've been saving, like I say, for the last year. You've got your $40,000 down payment. You put your $40,000 down. You got $160,000 mortgage. You apply with the bank. You get cheap financing. You try to find something like 2.99% fixed rate of interest. A couple ways you can skin this cat. You can set up a purchase plus improvements with the mortgage such that the appraiser will take a quote. You're gonna go find the most expensive contractor you can, and he'll quote that work at say like $60,000, and then you'll do it for $15,000, and they'll give you back $60,000, right? You just have to supply some receipts for materials and things like that. So you can do it that way. That's one way to do it's called a purchase plus improvements mortgage, where you pull out the equity, right? Because this is the strategy. You want to pull out the money you just put into it using a refinance up to after renovated value. A few reasons this is good. One, you pay no tax. When you sell a property, you pay capital gains tax. When you keep a property and refinance it, you pay no tax. You just made a whole bunch of money. You get access to that cash to buy more properties, and you pay no tax. So this strategy is really, really good and lets the snowball really grow as it falls down the hill. So you got that refi on that $290 purchase price. Let's say we go option 2. Instead of the purchase plus improvements, we just go back to the bank. We say, hey, I've renovated this property. I would like to refinance this property. And the bank says, sure, let's get it reappraised. I'll talk about videos about how to get good appraisals on properties. There are techniques you can use. You gotta know your comps in your area. There's things you can do, right, to maximize that value. Now, oh, look at that sun. That beautiful sun came out. I love when the sun comes out. Here in Canada, there's a lot of snow outside, so it's nice when the sun makes an appearance through the clouds. Back to the topic though, right? You go to the bank, you get that refinance, it comes in at $290, right? You got that appraisal coming in, woo! woo, you're like, yes, got that appraisal at 290. This is amazing. Bank's like, okay, we'll give you 80% loan to value. But on this new mortgage, right? So 290 times 80% is $234,000 mortgage. That $234,000 mortgage is the new mortgage they're going to issue you. But you have to pay out the old mortgage they had on the property before. So you pay out the old first mortgage, put this new first mortgage on. Your old mortgage was $160,000, $200,000 times 80%, right? And your new mortgage is $234,000. So the difference is going to be a cash check given to you. It's going to be given to you. It's cash. It's yours. You put it in your bank account. You do what you want with it. You just pulled out 234, 160 is 74,000. So $74,000 cash in your account. And 290 times 20% is $58,000. So you own this property. It's rented out now. You go rent it out, all that kind of stuff, right? You're bringing $2,500 a month now. You're cash flowing probably $900 to $1,000 a month using London numbers on a property about that size, about that rental amount. So you're bringing in $1,000 a month profit essentially. You're paying down that mortgage, which you're going to want to refinance anyway using this strategy because you don't ever want to pay down a mortgage. You want leverage to help you make good deals better. If you're levered 5 to 1, which is what 80% loan to value is, then you have 5 times the return. A 5% rate of return on the total asset becomes 25% with 5 to 1 leverage. And I'll talk about leverage in another video, but it's also essential to this strategy working effectively. You've got $74,000 cash in your account. You've got a property now with $58,000 in equity. You have more equity in this property than you started with by putting your down payment and that $15,000 in renovation that you put into the property. By the way, if you don't have the $15,000 in renovation saved up, then you can use your day job income because you're living frugally, and that's the requirement. You have to be living very, very frugally. You need to be already rent hacking. You need to be ensuring that you're saving more than at least 50% of your paycheck. If you're not, you need to work on your budgeting. I'm going to talk about videos about how you live frugally. To do the strategy well, you have to live frugally, especially if your income's not very high. You need to be very, very frugal, and that's a cornerstone. I lived on 15% of my day job income. We were living on 1/4 of my girlfriend's income, saving all of my salary and like I say, more than half of hers. So that really helps build the snowball too when you're contributing from multiple angles. You're just saving up that down payment every year, plus your properties start building the snowball. So let's walk through how this happens. You got $74,000 of cash in your bank account. And this rental took you 4 months, 5 months, let's say 6 months, worst case scenario. You spend a half a year working on this. Now, you've been saving your day job already part of another down payment. So this last 6 months, you've been saving hard, another down payment. So you've got maybe $10,000, $15,000 saved up, maybe $20,000, maybe $25,000 if you're really aggressive and really frugal. So you're saving, you're investing that money in, whatever, stocks, equities. That was a lot of what I did. I traded some of that, but I have the investor knowledge. Maybe you just got it in an ETF fund. That's cool too. Maybe it's in an index fund in the S&P 500. That's cool too. Whatever you're doing with it, make sure it aligns with your time horizon. Maybe it's in a savings account, getting 2.5%, whatever. So you've been saving that down payment. You're growing that down payment on the one hand through your day job, right? The normal way of saving to financial independence, right? You got to save. That's how you reach financial independence. If you're not saving, what's the point in earning the money at all? It's just going to be all blown. You'll have nothing at the end of the day. No assets, no real tangible net worth, and that's the goal. So property number one's cash flowing you, let's say $1,000 a month, every month. Let's go 900 to be conservative. So $900 a month into the savings account, plus you're saving at least 50% of your day job income. So your down payment pool is building for property number two the whole while. Every month, $900 more, $900 more. And you're not spending that because lifestyle inflation is overrated. You don't want to get a bigger house. You don't need a nicer car. You're good. You're going to keep living frugal because you're on the Rosehart Snowball. And you have the long-term vision in mind. You're like, you know what? I need to get those 10, 15 properties. I want that financial independence. I want to quit my job so badly. I want that more than I want anything else. And in 3 years, I'll look at getting a new car. So you're staying on the path. You're on the Rosehart Snowball. And it's been 4 or 6 months. You got $74,000 in your account plus $20,000 you've saved. So you got like $90,000 cash right now and $58,000 in equity. You're doing really well. You're like on top of the world. This is great. Now it's time to really start accelerating the snowball. So deal number two comes along. The exact same profile as the last property I talked about, $200,000 purchase price, $15,000 renovation. If it's off by a few thousand, not a big deal, but you want to follow the same model. So you're following the same model. You buy property number two, right? You do the exact same thing. You get the exact same ARV, $290,000. And sorry about that, my battery just came up and I had to change it over. Property number 2, right? You're doing the exact same thing. You get within 4 to 6 months, you get a refi of $74,000 because you follow the exact same model, the exact same thing. You got $58,000 in equity. Now you have 2 rental properties. It's been about 11 months since you started this strategy. You have already 2 rental properties, each cash flowing $900 to $1,000 a month. Boom, there's almost $2,000 a month every month. And you're not spending a dime of that profit from the rental properties. You're just saving that to buy more. You're letting the snowball build. You're letting the properties buy you more properties. And you're still saving more than 50% of your day job income, right? So on evenings and weekends, you're working on this property. During the day, you're still working that 9 to 5. And you're grinding. And it's hard. It's going to get harder before it gets easier. And it's not easy, but you will become a millionaire in like 2 or 3 years. So keep that in mind. And that should be enough motivation, right? That's like the largest carrot you could ever dangle in front of someone is freedom for the rest of your life to never have to work. So you're saving, right? Saving. You get $94,000 and you had to put $40,000 down into the property, $15,000 renovation, et cetera, et cetera. So you've got about, and you've been saving, I think the numbers work out too, you've been saving 50% of your salary. It's been about a year. You've got about, with the 2 properties now with the next refi, you've got about $100,000, $125,000 in capital. So you could buy 3 actually right now, but for my model, I did 2. And you could really buy 3. So you've got 2 rental properties, cash flowing. You buy 2 more. Same profile, $200,000, $15,000 reno, $290 ARV. Boom, you pull at $74,000. Boom, you pull at $74,000. Right? So now you've got 4 rental properties, and you did both of them in tandem. Took you 5 months to do it, a little bit longer than the 4-month time horizon for the first property. But now you're learning to use subs, so a lot of the work isn't being done by you; it's being managed by you. But you're finding affordable. When I say subs, I mean subcontractors. Like a subcontractor might be a drywall guy or a taping mudding guy, a painter, a flooring installer, framer. Those are sub trades, plumber, electrician. So you learn you need to know how to do the work. So you do some of the work in the first couple properties yourself, but you've now started to build those connections, those teams. Things are getting easier. It's hardest in the first year, but you've got, 4 deals right now and 4 properties now, right? And you just got 2 more refis from those last 2, and it's about a year. Now you get another 74,000 and 74,000, right? So you got about 72,000, I think I said. I think it was 72,000. Whatever it is. You had about 72,000, 144,000. You just got in a 2 double refi from each of those properties. And you're getting almost $1,000 a month from those 4 properties. It's going right into a savings account. Let's call it $900 a month to be conservative. So $3,600 a month going into a savings account for your down payment, right? So you're saving a down payment every 10 months right now. 10 months, and the rental properties buy you another property down payment. So really, really key to focus on now using some of that cash to buy more. So you just got a bunch of gunpowder. What you can actually do is, if you look at it, it becomes like a pyramid, right? So all of the 4 deals, so the 2 deals you just did buy you 2 more, and your down payments you've been saving and your cash flow you've been saving buys you another one. So you got 3 more. You pick up 3 deals in the middle of your first quarter of year 2. So you got 3 more deals. You already had 4. You have 58K equity, 58K equity, 58K equity, 58K equity. Likely there's been some appreciation or something, so you might even have a little bit more. Some mortgage pay down's been happening the whole time too. So you might have 60-something thousand, say 62,000 in equity in these 4 properties. So you already have $250,000 in equity in these properties, and you just pulled out 72,000, plus you've been saving the whole time from your day job and all the rental income. So you actually have like so much gunpowder. You have like 150 grand in cash right now, and you do it again. You get 3 more. Boom, now you have 7. And again, 60-something K equity, 58K equity, 58K equity, 58K equity in these properties. And you got a $72,000 refi, $72,000 refi. So you've got $230,000 in cash now to buy some more. Boom, you're already over 10. It's end of year 2 going into year 3. You already have these 3 right here. If you follow the you have enough cash now for a down payment on 6 more properties. So you're already at 12 properties. And if you do that again, right, you get the refi from all the new properties you just renoed up to ARV, and boom, 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 now you're laughing. Maybe at this point, around this time, it starts getting hard to get A lender financing. You have to move into B lender financing. So your interest rates might be 5-6%. That's fine. The strategy still works. In fact, private lenders are easier to get good appraisals with because they aren't as stringent on their requirements. It's easier to get that money faster. It's going to be more expensive to get that money, but it's doable. And maybe at this point you would start joint venturing with people, right? You have the experience. You've already built up a 10 property portfolio. Now you can partner with people and you can take a little more of that equity and let them get the mortgage because they don't have any properties. The bank will lend them a mortgage, no problem. And you keep the snowball rolling. It's very, very easy, like I say, in 3 years to get 10 properties. And what did you do? You literally just lived frugally, worked a full-time job for 3 years, and followed a strategy when you bought a property. You followed a strategy. A lot of people just buy rental properties with no plan to renovate them, no plan to refinance them. They're hoping just for cash flow. You want to focus on cash flow and on forced appreciation. Most of this model relies on the 3 ways you make money in real estate, right? 1, you make it through income, through rental income, cash flow every month. This is the thing you want to rely on. I look for 25% cash on cash return when I buy a property, minimum. Leverage helps that a lot. B, I look for forced appreciation. So you want to be able to get a renovation done below market value and look for that edge that makes the property a better use than it currently is. So what is that competitive edge you can use to change the value of the property to realize the ARV? So maybe it's adding bedrooms, maybe it's duplexing a property that was originally a single family. You gotta find the play, you gotta understand how to appraise properties, and I'll talk about that in future videos. There are 3 ways to appraise a property: income approach, comparable property approach, and cost-based approach. We'll talk about that later. But these are all pieces you're gonna learn. At a high level, you're understanding how the Rosehart strategy snowball works. So the Rosehart snowball involves intense frugality. If you aren't saving, it makes the snowball a lot harder. If you're spending that rental income on a nice whip, or you're spending that rental income on a nice vacation, or you're not buying properties that need good rehabilitation and renovation, or you're buying properties at full market value and with no plan to increase the vision of the property to realize an ARV, that's a lot of the mistakes people make when they're buying rental properties, and that's why they don't get the snowball. Every deal has to be a unicorn. So what that means in my local market, like I say, is about 8% of deals. 8% of deals doesn't mean that it's impossible. It just means that you're gonna have to look at about 11 properties before you can offer on one that makes sense. But 1 in 10 roughly properties will ensure that you find the right deal. So don't just buy everything. In fact, people say to me, I have 5 rental properties in this city and this and that. Oh, I've done that, I've been there. And a lot of those people bought the wrong properties. It sounds terrible, but when you hear that advice from those older folks sometimes whom have done a lot of deals and they said, oh, real estate sucks, or it's impossible to do the snowball, it just can't be done, it's because they weren't buying the right properties. Don't get me wrong, real estate is super stressful, and like dealing with tenant issues, can keep you up at night. It's the reason why I sold from 15 properties down to 4. I sold 11. That, and I actually wanted to realize some of these gains, which from a tax perspective wasn't smart, but to get that $1 million in cash felt really, really good before I even redeployed it. But it's just kind of locking in those gains for me. At the end of the day, for the Rosehart Real Estate Snowball to work, you have to follow a few simple, methods or strategies. And you have to have a certain mindset. You have to be willing to work hard. I'm talking more than full time. You have to put in hours, have to get off work to manage the subs. There's gonna be some messages back and forth and calls at lunch. There's gonna be weekends, a lot of weekends. But it's only for 2 or 3 years. And let's think about this, right? You've got now 10 properties. It's been, 2.5 years, let's say. 10 properties, cash flowing $900 to $1,000 a month. You have roughly $10,000 a month in cash flow. I'm talking profit, net of all the expenses. That's what cash flow is, your net cash. After all your utilities, your mortgage, everything's been paid. You get 10 grand a month coming in. That's yours forever. And you're getting appreciation on top of that, hopefully. There's some of that. You've got all this equity in all these properties. You got 10 properties with roughly $60,000 in equity in each one, minimum, assuming your market isn't appreciating. If your market's relatively flat, this works well in flat markets. It actually works in slightly declining markets, and it works really, really well in markets that are accelerating, right? 3 ways to make money in real estate: rental income, rental cash flow, forced appreciation through inorganic market arbitrage, essentially renovating a property to an ARV. And the 3rd way is through speculation, which is just market appreciation. You think an area is going to do better, has nothing to do with anything you can control. I don't like 3. I never buy properties for 3. It's why people buy properties in like New York, Toronto, Vancouver a lot of the time. Other than like the emotional factor, 3 is a lot of the reason people speculate. They don't make any cash flow. They have no plan to renovate. They're buying at ARV. So yeah, anyway, that's the Cole's notes. It is possible now. When someone asks me, how did you buy 15 properties? How did you do, you're just an average guy. You didn't come from any wealth, single mom, you didn't come from any money. How did you buy all these properties? What was the technique that you used? I can't understand how I can go from 2 properties to 4, or 1 property to 3, or 1 property to 10. And hey, let me show you, let me lead by example. Let me give you the numbers. It's doable. You just have to learn how to do it and follow those strategies. And it is a bit of sacrifice. It's a lot of work. You have to be really frugal to make this work, but anyone can retire in like 3 years using this strategy. When you're bringing in $10,000 a month, why are you still working at your job where you make $50,000 to $55,000 a year, which is like net $4,000 to $5,000 a month or something, right? So you obviously would make a shift, unless you really loved your job, to quit your job and move into real estate, or you maybe don't like real estate and you did it just as a means to an end. Maybe you hire a property manager and you outsource everything and you just collect, instead of 10 or 11 grand a month, you collect 7 grand a month or 6 grand a month. Hey, still more than your salary you were making before. So you're in a better position than you were before, and you have 10 properties with $60,000 in equity. You have $600,000 minimum in equity in these properties, plus the cash you just got from the last 3 deals and the refi. So you still have $230,000 from that. You have almost $800,000 net worth. Boom, easy money in like 3 years. Anyone can do this. Anyone can do it. I've done it. I know lots of people in my market here in London, Ontario. I have friends who are doing it. People I've met on Bigger Pockets that are doing this. Take advantage, guys. And please, please, please share on social media if you found this valuable. It gives me a lot of motivation to make these videos and edit these videos. If I have that, that following, that subscriber base, those people liking and commenting. And if you want to hear more about this, tell me what you want to hear more about.